Dealerships across the country are struggling to sell these 7 motorcycle models in 2025. They look great on paper, but buyers just aren't biting. From luxury baggers to misunderstood cruisers, these bikes are stuck on showroom floors. Here are 7 motorcycles dealers are desperate to move, starting right now. Number 7. Honda DN01. In the late 2000s, Honda took a bold gamble with a motorcycle that defied every category. The DN01 wasn't just a new model, it was a declaration that the future had arrived, blending the long profile of a cruiser, the fairing of a sport bike, and the twist-and-go simplicity of a scooter. The DN01 tried to be everything at once. Unfortunately, that ambition turned into confusion, and dealerships across the country are still trying to move this misunderstood machine off their showroom floors. At the heart of the DN01 is a 680 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin engine that produces 61 horsepower and 47 pound-feet of torque. Instead of a traditional gearbox, it uses Honda's human-friendly transmission, an automatic continuously variable transmission that allows riders to toggle between fully automatic and manual shift modes using handlebar-mounted buttons. On paper, this setup offered groundbreaking ease of use. In practice, it raised more eyebrows than interest. Weighing in at 595 pounds wet, the DN01 is on the heavier side for a middleweight, especially considering its modest power output. It features single-disc brakes front and rear, a shaft drive system, and basic telescopic forks up front with a single shock in the rear. The ride quality is smooth, and the low seat height makes it accessible to many riders, but that alone wasn't enough to justify its price tag, which debuted around $15,000, far more than most middleweight motorcycles at the time. That price was one of the biggest problems. For the same money, buyers could choose from higher-powered cruisers, more comfortable tourers, or fully equipped maxi scooters with better storage, more features, and broader support networks. The DN01 offered little practicality in return for its futuristic styling. It had minimal cargo options, no wind protection to speak of, and a polarizing look that made some riders hesitate to even test ride it. Its design, especially the swooping bodywork and bulbous front end, didn't fit into any established style category. Riders looking for aggressive lines found it too soft. Cruiser fans thought it looked like a scooter. Scooter fans were confused by the low-slung chassis and cruiser ergonomics. The DN01 simply had no natural audience. Even dealerships struggled with how to pitch it. Was it a beginner-friendly automatic cruiser, a futuristic sport bike alternative, a luxurious scooter for mature riders? No one could say for sure. That identity crisis turned into real-world consequences. The DN01 remained on showroom floors well beyond its intended model run from 2008 to 2010. In fact, several units sat unsold for years, with dealerships slashing prices just to get them off the books. The few who did purchase one often found themselves isolated in the ownership experience, with limited aftermarket support, little community interest, and minimal trade-in value. Honda discontinued the model quietly, shifting focus to more conventional platforms. Yet the DN01 lives on, not as a collectible, not as a classic, but as a cautionary tale. It was ahead of its time in theory, but completely out of sync with its market. For those who appreciate the rare and unusual, it remains a fascinating piece of motorcycle history. But for dealerships, it was a sales nightmare. And if you think that was hard to sell, wait until you see the next bike on the list. A machine with jaw-dropping specs, a premium name, and somehow, no buyers. Quick reminder, our favorite riding gear is listed below. From helmets to gloves, it's all there so you don't have to guess. Number 6. Ducati Street Fighter Vive 4. There are motorcycles built for the road and there are motorcycles bred for the racetrack. The Street Fighter Vive 4 falls somewhere in between, which is exactly the problem. With its razor-sharp lines and aggressive Italian styling, the Street Fighter Vive 4 doesn't just look fast, it is fast. But in a dealership landscape filled with practical commuters and laid-back cruisers, this Ducati is a hard sell, no matter how impressive the brochure stats may look. Underneath its minimalist fairings is the Desmo Sedici Stradale 5 4-engine, an 1103 cubic centimeter powerhouse derived from Ducati's MotoGP program. This four-cylinder engine produces a staggering 208 horsepower and 90 pound-feet of torque. That kind of output is more than many compact cars. It rockets the bike from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 2.9 seconds. Those numbers would be right at home on a racetrack, but the average rider has almost no way to legally or safely use that kind of performance on public roads. And it's not just the performance that's intimidating, the price is too. The Street Fighter Vi 4 starts at around $22,000 for the base model. But depending on trim level and optional upgrades like the Ulan suspension or carbon fiber accessories, it can soar to over $30,000. That puts it well above many other naked sport bikes in the same category and even into the range of lightweight sport touring bikes that offer far more day-to-day comfort and utility. Then there's the maintenance. Ducati's signature desmodromic valve system may help deliver pinpoint precision at high revs, but it also requires highly trained technicians for service and comes with short service intervals. Combine that with expensive parts, high-performance tires that wear out quickly, and insurance rates that reflect its extreme capabilities, and you've got a motorcycle that's expensive not just to buy, but to own. The ergonomics don't do it any favors either. The riding position is aggressive and forward-leaning, with high pegs and a narrow seat that's built for track feedback, not long-haul comfort. Daily commuting or casual weekend rides can feel punishing. Add in the limited wind protection, and you've got a bike that fights you just as much as it fights the wind. For older riders or anyone looking for versatility, it simply does not add up. Weight-wise, the Street Fighter Vi 4 comes in at approximately 435 pounds dry. It rides on a fully adjustable Showa BPF fork up front and a Sachs monoshock in the rear. Braking is handled by dual Brembo-style calipers biting down on massive discs, offering jaw-dropping stopping power. It's also packed with electronic rider aids, cornering anti-lock braking system, traction control, slide control, wheelie control, and a 6-axis inertial measurement unit. Everything you'd need if you plan to ride it at 10/10ths, everywhere. Dealers across the United States are finding it difficult to move units of the Street Fighter Vi 4, even in Ducati-focused shops. The problem isn't that it's a bad bike, it's that it's too good for the realities of American roads and average skill levels. Most riders don't want to manage 200 horsepower on the street, no matter how glorious the sound or how stunning the ride. For many, this bike ends up being more of a fantasy than a feasible purchase. Now let's go from too fast to too refined. The next bike is all luxury and no movement. We did the digging. You just hit play. If that saved you hours, a subscribe feels fair. Number 5, BMW K1600B. This is the motorcycle that was supposed to redefine luxury touring. 6 cylinders, armchair comfort, and more electronics than some premium cars. It all sounds like a dream for any rider looking to cruise the highways in style. But instead of flying off dealership floors, the BMW K1600B is gathering dust in the back row. And for all its technical brilliance, dealers are finding it nearly impossible to move. At the heart of the K1600B is a 1649 cubic centimeter inline-6 engine that produces an impressive 160 horsepower and 129 pound-feet of torque. This engine is renowned for its smooth, turbine-like power delivery and is mated to a 6-speed transmission with shaft drive. The result is a machine that delivers effortless roll-on power at any speed and a calm, confident highway ride. Exactly what you would expect from a luxury touring motorcycle. When it comes to the chassis and underpinnings, the K1600B doesn't cut corners. It features BMW's signature dual-lever front suspension system and a paralever rear swing arm, both of which provide outstanding stability under braking and cornering, especially with a full touring load. Electronically adjustable dynamic ESA suspension comes standard, allowing riders to change damping characteristics on the fly. Braking is handled by dual front 320mm discs with 4-piston fixed calipers and a single rear 320mm disc with a 2-piston caliper, all supported by full anti-lock braking system. Tipping the scales at 787 pounds wet, this motorcycle is no lightweight, and while that adds to highway composure, it becomes a major burden in city riding or tight maneuvers. But the K1600B sits in a strange no man's land. It's too modern and tech-heavy for traditional Harley-Davidson bagger fans who want chrome, rumble, and retro styling. But it's also too heavy and cumbersome for riders used to sport touring bikes like the FJR 1300 or the Concours 14. For older riders or those stepping down from lighter touring setups, the weight and size can be intimidating, especially when parking or moving the bike around at low speeds. And then there's the price. This bike starts at around $25,000, and that's before you start checking off the upgrade boxes. Once you add the popular packages, like reverse assist, floorboards, luggage lighting, and the upgraded seat, you're pushing past the $30,000 mark. Throw in dealer fees and taxes, and you're approaching the territory of fully loaded SUVs. For that kind of money, most riders expect either classic American muscle or ultralight European sport touring precision. The K1600B delivers neither. It tries to be everything at once, and that's where it loses buyers. Maintenance is another deal breaker. Those electronic suspension systems, ride modes, and adaptive headlights are amazing when they work, but expensive when they don't. And when something fails, it's not as easy as running it down to your neighborhood shop. Finding a technician trained specifically for this BMW platform can mean waiting weeks for service or even traveling across state lines. Meanwhile, brands like Harley-Davidson or Honda have dealers and techs in nearly every town. And while that bagger might be too posh for its own good, the next bike's problem sits on the other end of the spectrum. Number 4. Kawasaki Vulcan S. This motorcycle was supposed to bridge the gap between two worlds, blending the relaxed attitude of a cruiser with the performance DNA of a sport bike. But in trying to satisfy both crowds, the Kawasaki Vulcan S ended up stuck in the middle. Dealerships across the country are finding this machine a tough sell, and it is not because it is a bad bike, it is because no one knows exactly who it is for. The Vulcan S is powered by a 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine derived directly from Kawasaki's Ninja 650. It delivers 61 horsepower and 46 pound-feet of torque, offering smooth, linear performance that's perfect for beginners and daily riders. Mated to a 6-speed transmission with chain drive, the Vulcan S pulls cleanly through the rev range and doesn't punish the rider with excessive vibration or sudden surges. On paper, that makes it a great entry point into the cruiser segment, but what's on paper does not always translate into showroom success. When it comes to underpinnings, the Vulcan S features a traditional telescopic front fork and a single offset lay-down rear shock with adjustable preload. The braking system includes a single 300mm front disc with a 2-piston caliper and a rear 265mm disc with a single piston caliper, both supported by an anti-lock braking system. At 498 pounds wet, the Vulcan S is lighter than many cruisers, making it easier to maneuver in traffic and in parking lots. The bike sits low with a seat height of 27.8 inches, further enhancing rider confidence at low speeds. But despite these advantages, the Vulcan S has not carved out a strong identity in the American motorcycle market. Cruiser riders, especially those loyal to Harley-Davidson and Indian, are not drawn to its Japanese styling or parallel twin engine. For them, the unmistakable sound and pulse of a V-twin is non-negotiable, and the Vulcan's smooth hum does not deliver that emotional connection. The styling is modern and clean, but lacks the chrome, heft, and nostalgia that cruiser fans seek. On the other hand, sport bike riders looking to downsize or transition to something more relaxed often feel the Vulcan S is underwhelming. The power is modest, and the handling, while predictable, does not provide the thrills or sharpness found in a true sport bike. It is not quite sporty enough to satisfy performance-minded riders, and not quite laid back enough to capture the cruiser spirit. That leaves it hanging in a strange space where its competence is acknowledged, but its appeal is thin. Priced around $7,400, the Vulcan S is certainly accessible. It undercuts many heavyweight cruisers and even some beginner bikes in terms of cost. Kawasaki tried to sweeten the deal by offering the Ergo Fit system, which allows adjustable foot peg and handlebar positions to accommodate riders of different heights. It is a thoughtful feature, but not one that overcomes the deeper identity conflict baked into the bike's design. But not every sales struggle is about identity. Some are about legacy. The next bike on this list was once a king of speed, a legend with a name known worldwide, and now it is fighting to stay relevant in a world that has moved on. Number 3. Suzuki Hayabusa. There was a time when the Hayabusa reigned supreme as the fastest production motorcycle in the world. It was the undisputed king of speed, a street icon that could leave anything else in its dust. Riders respected it, racers feared it, and dealerships couldn't keep it in stock. But in the year 2025, the Hayabusa's thunder has quieted. Now it sits idle in showrooms across the country, struggling to find a new generation of riders who want to do more than just ride fast in a straight line. At its core, the Hayabusa is still a beast. It's powered by a 1,340 cubic centimeter inline four-cylinder engine that produces 188 horsepower and 111 pound-feet of torque. These are serious numbers, more than enough to obliterate most cars and motorcycles on the highway. The bike can go from 0 to 60 in just over 3 seconds and blaze through a quarter mile in under 10. The performance hasn't disappeared, but the market has changed dramatically. The problem isn't what the Hayabusa can do, it's that fewer riders are interested in what it represents. Back when it launched in the late 1990s, it was revolutionary. It had no real competition, but now the industry has shifted. Younger riders aren't looking for land speed records. They're looking for versatility, comfort, and connectivity. Adventure bikes, naked sport bikes, and upright sport tourers are dominating sales. Riders today want machines that can commute during the week, explore back roads on the weekends, and still have fun in the twisties. The Hayabusa, for all its engineering brilliance, is a one-trick pony. And then there's the price. The latest Hayabusa is listed at around $18,500. That's not astronomical when you consider the performance, but it's still a tough entry point for younger buyers, especially when you add insurance premiums, taxes, dealer fees, and the cost of proper safety gear. And the truth is, performance this extreme comes with hidden costs. Those wide tires wear out fast. Oil changes and chain services aren't cheap. And the insurance premiums? They can feel more like a mortgage payment than a motorcycle policy. Styling is another area where the Hayabusa divides opinion. The new design is sleek, aerodynamic, and unmistakably Busa, but it still carries that long, low, bulbous look that some riders see as outdated. In an age where aggressive angular designs dominate the showroom, the Hayabusa's shape is beginning to show its age. It's not just about looking fast anymore, it's about looking modern, and that's where this machine struggles to connect with a new audience. In terms of components, the Hayabusa holds its own. It features fully adjustable KYB suspension, Brembo Stylema monoblock front brakes, and a suite of electronics including multiple ride modes, cornering ABS, traction control, launch control, and a bi-directional quick shifter. The chassis is well balanced and planted, and the cockpit is a comfortable place for long rides. The weight, however, is not insignificant. At 564 pounds wet, it's heavy for a sport bike. And while that helps with highway stability, it makes tight cornering and city commuting more work than most riders want. And speaking of legends struggling in a new era, the next one aimed for the future and missed the mark by miles. Number 2, Harley-Davidson Livewire. This was supposed to be Harley-Davidson's grand entrance into the future, a revolutionary machine that would prove the company wasn't stuck in the past. A bold step into the electric era that could attract new blood while showing loyal riders that innovation and tradition could ride side by side. But instead of leading the charge, the Livewire stalled out at the starting line. It was a gamble, and for dealers it's been nothing short of a corporate migraine. At the core of the Livewire is a permanent magnet electric motor that produces 105 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque. It delivers instant acceleration, propelling the bike from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. The city range clocks in at around 146 miles, while highway cruising will get you about 70 miles before needing a recharge. The torque hits the moment you twist the throttle, making the ride feel responsive, quick, and futuristic. But the performance, while impressive on paper and exciting in person, hasn't been enough to move units off showroom floors. The Livewire weighs in at 549 pounds, which puts it in the ballpark of most middleweight cruisers. It's built on a cast aluminum frame with a Showa SFF BP front fork and a Showa BFR C-Lite rear monoshock, both fully adjustable for preload, compression, and rebound. Brembo monoblock 4-piston front calipers clamp dual 300mm discs, while a single piston caliper grips a rear 260mm disc. Cornering ABS and traction control come standard, driven by a 6-axis inertial measurement unit. It's premium tech all the way through, designed to deliver confidence and control in every condition. Yet the engineering brilliance hasn't translated into showroom success. The first issue was the price. When the Livewire launched, the price tag came in just under $30,000. Even with recent adjustments, it still sits around $22,000, well above the cost of many gas-powered Harleys and even more than most Japanese cruisers and sport tourers. For that kind of money, many riders expect legacy performance, long-distance range, or that raw, emotional V-twin experience Harley-Davidson is known for. The Livewire doesn't offer any of that. Instead, it asks loyalists to trade in their trademark rumble for silence. That's not a compromise most Harley fans are willing to make. Then there's the buyer mismatch. Younger, environmentally conscious riders might be more open to an electric motorcycle, but not one priced like a luxury item. Meanwhile, the core Harley audience isn't ready to part with gas gears and growl. The Livewire finds itself trapped in the middle, too radical for traditionalists and too expensive for the new generation. And that's a dangerous place to be in an industry where identity and culture drive brand loyalty. Charging infrastructure is another issue that continues to haunt electric motorcycles. While the Livewire supports DC fast charging and can go from 0 to 80% in about 40 minutes, the reality is most riders still find gas stations more convenient and widespread. Add in the anxiety of range limitation, especially on long rides in rural areas, and many riders simply walk away. Electric might be the future, but in 2025 it's still not ready for the average American motorcyclist. But there's one more motorcycle that stings even worse. A bike that checks all the boxes, carries the right name, and still can't escape the shadows of its louder, older brother. Number 1. Indian Scout Bobber. It is sleek, it is American, and it has all the aggressive styling cues that scream attitude. From the chopped fenders to the slammed silhouette and solo seat, the Scout Bobber was designed to turn heads and tug at the hearts of younger riders craving a mix of retro cool and modern performance. On paper, it should be a sales juggernaut. But in dealership after dealership across the country, the Scout Bobber is sitting still, quiet, polished, and unsold. It is not that the bike is bad. It is that the market does not quite know what to do with it. The Scout Bobber is powered by an 1133 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin engine that delivers 100 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque. That power is routed through a crisp 5-speed transmission, making it one of the punchiest bikes in the middleweight cruiser class. Riders who twist the throttle will feel the smooth but forceful acceleration almost immediately. And in terms of sheer performance, the Scout Bobber holds its own. It is fast, refined, and mechanically solid. In terms of hardware, the Scout Bobber is built with a cast aluminum frame and rolls on chunky, block tread tires that emphasize its stripped-down, no-nonsense stance. Up front, you get a telescopic fork with 4.7 inches of travel, while the rear features dual shocks with only 2 inches of travel, giving the bike its slammed profile but compromising long-distance comfort. Braking is handled by a single 298mm disc at the front and another 298mm disc at the rear, both with 2-piston calipers. While effective, it is not exactly high-end braking tech. The Scout Bobber weighs in at 554 pounds wet, making it relatively manageable but still no featherweight. Its ergonomics favor style over comfort with low bars, forward controls, and a seat height of just 25.6 inches. Low enough to look cool, but not ideal for extended rides. The Scout Bobber's challenges begin with its price. With a starting cost just under $13,000, it is priced higher than many of its Japanese rivals, which offer similar or even better specs at lower costs. And while it is certainly more affordable than some Harley-Davidson models, it still faces stiff competition from the likes of the Iron 883 and the Nightster, both of which come with the overwhelming brand loyalty and nationwide support of Harley-Davidson. That brings us to another issue: dealer reach. Indian has a much smaller dealership network across the United States compared to Harley-Davidson or Honda. For riders in rural areas or smaller cities, just finding a place to test ride, service, or order parts for a Scout Bobber can be a hassle. That kind of uncertainty makes buyers nervous, especially older riders or first-time buyers who want convenience and confidence from their dealer support. Then there is the comfort factor. The Scout Bobber looks incredible, no doubt, but its riding position with mid to forward pegs and a solo seat can get punishing after more than 30 or 40 minutes on the road. These bikes are not bad. They are misunderstood. In the right hands, they are a dream come true. But in today's motorcycle market, they are just not moving. So which of these bikes surprised you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, give it a like if you learned something new, and hit subscribe so you never miss what dealers are trying to hide next.